Fans, that's right. It's your buddy Rooster back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Maybe not children of all ages. I do use some language sometimes. Oh, Rooster got some stuff to get off his chest today. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about how South Carolina has recently shoved Mike Norvell in the locker. Amari Thomas, kid out of that corner portion. I think it's Bounceville. I can't remember the name of the little town the kid's from. Last year in his junior season had 1,900 yards, 37 touchdowns. Decommitted from Florida State about a month ago. Commits to South Carolina this week. Excited about the kid. Looks good. Watched a little bit of huddle film on him. We're going to have to put some SEC running back weight on him when he gets into our weight program. But I think Luke Day's kind of proven that he can do that at South Carolina. As we saw a bunch of photos of some body transformations and all this stuff that a lot of the other players at South Carolina's been going through. So I really don't see that. Sorry, y'all, being an issue. But, you know, it started a couple years ago. South Carolina fans were really upset about Jaheim Bell leaving the program. He left. He went to Florida State. And just there was a lot of stuff on the internet back and forth with Jaheim Bell's mother and South Carolina. Just too much stuff getting kind of rubbed in South Carolina's face, and a lot of Gamecock fans took that personal against Florida State. Well, here recently it's kind of going the other way, because if you look at last year getting Malik Clark, now he's a Rock Hill guy, you could kind of see that flip back to South Carolina, but he was committed to Florida State at one point in time, and Beamer and them were able to flip him and bring him back. Amari Thomas this year committed to Florida State. South Carolina goes in there, flips the commitment, and now he's at South Carolina. So Shane Beamer's been, and the reason I really want to do this video is I had a Florida State fan. I was kind of bantering with some Virginia Tech fans, and a Florida State guy had to jump in over on X and put in his comments, and I'm like, dude, y'all won 2 games last year. If anything, FSU needs to shut the F up until you win something. Well, we have more history. Bro, anything past what is going on with NIL, the transfer portal, and the way these teams are built these days is history. And it's great to look at for your program if you want to talk about it, but it doesn't affect 2025. Most of these kids don't care about history anymore. They're about making money. They're about getting on the field. They're about playing, which is why depth has become such an issue in college football right now. You look around the league, and there's a lot of new faces at quarterbacks. There's a lot of backups. You say a quarterback gets hurt, who's in the best position to have a backup? Bro, there's a lot of questions, because there's questions at your starting quarterback, so you damn sure got questions at backup. So that's just kind of one of the things. Florida State win more than 2 games in a season. When y'all went 13-0 or whatever it was a couple years ago, Mike Norvell cannot develop a quarterback, yo. Every year, he's going into the transfer portal and bringing in a quarterback. He is not developing a quarterback. If I'm a Florida State fan, I'm a little kind of looking at him and looking at my team and saying, why can't our coaches develop players? And then you wonder why you're losing recruits or not getting recruits, is because you're going in the portal and you're recruiting over your high school kids. There's ways of doing it. Look at Ole Miss this year. Lost all that transfer portal class that they had from last year. They got so many questions that nobody can even answer what Ole Miss is going to look like. They could be really good. They could be really bad. Ohio State, same thing. That everybody's talking about what they're returning and how good. Think about all the guys they lost too. All that talent they brought in and spent $20-something million on that transfer portal class that won a national championship and is now gone. They got a lot of questions too. A lot of teams have questions. You know why? Because depth. We all know in the SEC, depth becomes something you really need at the end of the year because you're going to get banged up. You're going to get injuries. You're going to have guys missing games or playing not at 100%. So depth becomes a thing, and that is development through coaching. You know, a lot of people look at some of these guys that South Carolina take as DBs, and they're at a different position in high school. You're taking a quarterback. Tristan Lewis, for example, you're taking a quarterback. I saw a video of him just flattening a kid the other day. I'm like, come on, man. But, yeah, I mean, because you want to develop these kids. Nicky Memori was a development kid for South Carolina. DQ Smith, a development kid for South Carolina. South Carolina has a bunch of young wide receivers because they want to develop these guys. We had a chance to go out and get more guys out of the portal at wide receiver. Mike Fury said, no, I'm happy with the guys I got. We didn't recruit over the guys that we have. Now, I get it. Dre Jacobs and Jarrett Brown, both transfers. Jarrett Brown from Coastal. Dre Jacobs, another FSU kid, redshirt freshman. Hey, guess what? Beamer takes the kid. Shows Norvell in the locker again. Sean Murphy, the linebacker that'll be playing this year for South Carolina. He left Florida State to come to South Carolina. We should tell you something. Everybody wants to get out of that garbage ass FSU program. But I just had to talk about it for a minute because some folks think you still should be riding on your history. Your history is not helping you win a national championship in 2025. If history would have told us anything last year, Ohio State was going to make it to a championship game and lose. That's what recent history has told everybody about Ohio State, right? Oh, they can get there, but Ryan Day can't win the big game. Well, Ryan Day won the big game. And believe me, I'm not here to... Hey, look, I don't come on here to bash anybody's football team. But if you want to go back and forth with me about where your program is, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. Look, we can talk about who's the best Gamecock YouTuber, who has the best Gamecock YouTube channel. Look, I just take being the most realistic. Because I don't lean heavy sunshine pumper for South Carolina. And I'm not the most negative guy either. I am that middle where you say, is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? I'm in that middle. I still have questions about South Carolina's football team this year, just like everybody else does, but I do legit reporting on it, or legit conversations about it. I don't just look at the big picture and say, oh, shit, South Carolina lost all them defensive players. No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into the guys we brought in, the guys that were in the rotations last year, and the guys that are, like everybody's trashing everybody left, but there's nobody outside of us that realize, hey, other than Nicky Memori, this DB room, it's still the same. It's still the same. The guys that played and got in all the action and got the snaps last year. It's still the same defensive back room. One of the best in the country, in my opinion. And that's not sunshine pumping. It's you have legit guys that have NFL talent. Brian Cesa's probably going to go to an NFL team. Whether he gets drafted or not, I don't know. The transfer from NC State. But we had guys like Judge Collier, Jalen Kilgore, already on this team that played a bunch of snaps. Vicari Swain played quite a bit last year. These kids know this defense. They've been in it. You still got Dylan Stewart, and everybody's like, well, all your defensive linemen. Dylan Stewart will attract so much attention. Everyone on that defensive line and whoever's at defensive end on the other side of that is going to have opportunities. Now, I want to see a guy like Nick Barrett, Monkel Goodwine. I want them eating up blocks on the interior of offensive lines and where it makes it very difficult to double team Dylan Stewart. I mean, we saw it last year. Everybody was having 2 to 3 chipping him with. He'd have 2 offensive linemen. Someone said chipping him with a tight end or chipping him tight. You're still chipping him with running backs. So when someone takes all that attention, it's time for someone else to step up and make plays. You got Brian Thomas Jr. had 4.5 sacks last year. Everybody, we heard this at the beginning of last year. The same thing. Well, who is Kyle Kennard? Who's Knight? Who's all these transfer guys that came in? We heard the same stuff. I get it. Boogie, TJ, Tonka, the guys have been around a while. Nick Barrett's been around a while. Moncal Goodwine played some last year. He's been in the defense. You're also bringing in quality guys that have played college football. Sean Murphy has played college football. Yes, he was banged up for Florida State last year. Only got to play in 4 or 5 games at the end of the season. But you have quality guys coming in. And I think one of the biggest false statements that people put out now and try to judge a team on is returning production. Yes, it's great if that number is good. And for the stat lovers, it's great for stat lovers. But let's just remember this. When a team doesn't play a tough schedule, their stats are going to be better. When you play a bunch of non-power 4 teams, your stats, I can tell you, I can put up Lenore Steller's stats right now, and they're going to be less than some other players. But imagine if that kid wasn't hurt and playing the Akron game. How much more stats would Lenore Sellers have right now in returning production had he been able to finish the second half against LSU and add in a game like Akron? He'd have ate Akron's lunch. He'd probably been pulled by halftime, and Robbie Ashford would have went in. But, I mean, legit, how many more stats would Lenore Sellers have had he not had an injury last year? This is where sometimes outside folks trying to talk about a program don't do their research, and they don't bring up these statements or these facts about a football team. And this is what last year, if people don't understand, I see so many of these previews and predictions thrown out for South Carolina around YouTube about people that know nothing about it. So I pop in. My curiosity has me pop in to see if these people have actually done homework on South Carolina or whether it's a regurgitated type take. And you know the regurgitation because they talk about the same things. They talk about Lenore Sellers. They talk about Dylan Stewart. What can Nick Harbor be? They don't talk about the work that Nick Harbor's done during the off season. This actually being a full off. Every once in a while, you'll find a YouTuber that'll talk about it, but most of these guys that are regurgitating shit don't. This was Nick Harbor's first full year of football and working with his coach Mike Fury. He's going to be better. Some people still have questions on Lenore Sellers. This is his second year of being a full-time starter. You don't think this kid's going to get better? All of a sudden they're going to fall apart. He's just not going to be better than he was last year. He's not going to clean up some of the mistakes he made last year. He will. It's his second year. And that's one of the things I kind of heard out of camp. They're working on him of getting through his hanging in the pocket, getting through his progressions, getting to his wide receivers. Now the wide receivers have to help him out. You got to create space for him to get the ball to you. That's one thing that really has to work for South Carolina this year. That's one of my point of emphasis for South Carolina. Wide receivers, getting out, getting away from the defenders, giving him the opportunity to throw the ball. I want to see Nick Harbor get hit on some passes where he actually has an opportunity to run with the football. Look at the vast majority of the balls he caught last year. He really didn't have a big opportunity to run after catch. So I want to see what we can do if the timing's on and he can catch a ball while he's still running like Leggett did for Spencer Rattler the year before. He's not a cutter. He's not going to cut. He's not going to stop on a dime and redirect his speed. That's not the type of wide receiver he is, and people just need to get past that. The ones that are on his case, Nick Harbor is not a 5'9" guy that's going to stop on a dime, redirect his speed, and do all that shit. Get past it. Get over it. Calvin Johnson wasn't that guy either. Neither was Jerry Rice or half these guys. But the routes they did run, they practiced and they worked on, and they perfected. But don't look for that kid to be that. We have plenty of kids that should be that misdirection, catch the ball, can stop. Mosiah Bennett's one of those. Trey Jacobs is one of those. Jarrett Brown can do it too. He's a good route runner. Some of these young kids are going to be able to do it that's come in there that'll get some playing time this year. So let's not project these kids into something they're not. But I would like some more people to be more realistic about the Gamecocks. And if you're going to do previews and predictions or whatever, do your homework. Because when I did them last year for my old channel, I really dug into the teams before I made predictions on them. Because if you don't, you're going to look like a damn fool. Don't keep regurgitating what you're hearing from the national media, because they don't do their homework either. I also want to give some advice to some young people. And this is my last rant on this. Because I don't even know why I go on Twitter and deal with some of these young cats. But this little Clemson fan, because I made a comment about taters, got an argument with me. Well, that's immature. Coots and taters are immature. I got some advice for young fans. Don't argue with the old heads. We fought the battles. We've been through the wars. We don't read about the history of our programs and the rivalry. We were there for them. And then the generation that's older than me, we're there for them. You can't just go look up a history on Google and think you know about it. This guy's arguing with me about where Tater came from for Clemson. It's only because they went to the Idaho Potato Bowl. I finally had to tell him, I'm like, look, young buck, I'm 52 fucking years old. I think I know I've been calling the taters since I was a teenager, which was long before the Idaho Potato Bowl and long before that dude was born. I've been called a coot, being a Gamecock fan, since I was a teenager. And I'm sure it was around before that. I'm like, dude, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But your school was an agriculture college, so you might want to think about that being the reason why they get called the taters. But, yeah, we didn't argue on Twitter back in the day. We argued in the old juke joints back in the pool halls and shit about our sports. And we didn't end up fighting, buying each other a beer. We wouldn't block someone like this guy did me yesterday. It's hilarious. But anyway, enough about all that bullshit. It's football season, y'all. A couple weeks away. We finally get to see our teams on the field. Right now, you're just kind of going off of what you're being told from this guy or that guy. It's all hearsay till we see it on the field. South Carolina the 31st against Virginia Tech. And I've been poking some fun at some Virginia Tech fans. They coming back at me. It's all good. It's all fun and games. We just want all the kids to have good football games and stay healthy. We've kind of seen some injuries in some NFL games already in preseason. It's been kind of scary, so let's put all those guys in our prayers. And I'm gonna get out of here, but please don't forget to like, subscribe, share it out. The most realistic Gamecock YouTuber right here with Rooster. Y'all have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day. Peace.